Have you reason? I have. Why then do you not use it? These words originate from the book Meditations written by Marcus Aurelius during his time as Roman emperor. The Meditations as a whole highlights the role that philosophy and reason have played on both Aurelius' thought processes as well as what his larger impact in decisions, such as how he ruled the Roman Empire. If philosophy, as seen with Aurelius, can influence what actions people do as well as what they think about these actions, it begs to the question of the impact of philosophy on society as a whole. With Asian cultures being the source of many philosophies and ideologies such as Confucianism and Buddhist foundations, it marks an excellent region to research how philosophy impacts society. This leads to the question, to what extent has moral philosophy influenced the political and social environment within Asian cultures in the past century? Good morning, my name is Jaden Moore. Throughout the influence and reference of moral philosophy, Asian cultures have been positively impacted throughout various contexts in society. These contexts range from tradition, education, political structure, foreign relations, and the economy. This here is a photograph taken by National Geographic of the living root bridges created by the Khasi people in India. These living root bridges were created as the Khasi people's adaptation to the long periods of rainy seasons that they experienced. This photograph highlights the overall sheer scale and how integrated into nature that these root bridges are. Julia Watson, a renowned expert on traditional indigenous technologies and a previous visitor to these root bridges, states that multiple generations of Khasi men, women, and children take care of these roots as they grow across the banks, forming the root bridges we see now. These bridges can last for centuries, and their permanence overall alludes to the culture of the Khasi people of maintaining their traditions. Moral philosophy can best be used to explain their continued behavior and to looking the future for the rest of their generations. Their determination to continue this tradition is due to their understanding that it is necessary, or could even be said to be morally right to do so. After all, these living root bridges will not only impact themselves, but their descendants as well. The method to which these traditions are passed down can fundamentally be linked to education. It is important to note that moral philosophy not only finds its place in the past, but in the modern institutions such as education. Zhu Di, a professor in the Department of Education Foundations at the University of Hawaii in Manoa, states that moral philosophy has a new and transformative difference. A teacher is not a talking head, a know-it-all expert, and a hierarchical authority, but rather a humble, compassionate, gracious, and collaborative learning being with continuously opening consciousness. Following this philosophy, its integration into education impacts the process to which knowledge is diffused as well as the perspectives of that culture throughout generations. In fact, according to Yeon-Sung Soon, a professor at the Sangmun University, in South Korea's attempt to develop past Japanese colonization, they had adopted Confucian ideas and traditions to become the very foundation of their education, which led to rapid industrialization and democratization that we see now. This continuity between old and new seen in education is important to how Asian cultures also organize their political structure. According to Aung San Suu Kyi, a political activist and a diplomat from Myanmar, she makes the connection between Jawaharlal Nehru, a leader of the independence movement in India, and philosophy. She states that Nehru found himself looking back to the philosophy of ancient India, stating that the greatest gift for an individual or a nation was abhaya, or fearlessness, not merely bodily courage, but the absence of fear from mind. With abhaya here referring to the concept of fearlessness found prominently throughout ancient India's culture. This direct connection between insight and traditional moral values gives the insight to the thought process of old and showing its application even now and present. By using moral philosophies of the past, as well as political leaders and revolutionaries such as Nehru, were able to establish foundations for their country that are prominent even now. By using it, however, it is essential to not only look at how moral philosophy influenced the intra politics, but as well as the external politics. External politics can best be defined as how a country orients its policies to other countries. In fact, according to Shin Kawashima, a professor of international history in East Asia, on October 25th, 2013, Xi Jinping delivered an address at the Conference of Diplomatic Work with neighboring countries, stating that we shall find the amicable balance of interests, uphold the concept of correct sense of justice, uphold principles, speak of friendly ties, speak of moral integrity, and do all we can to assist developing countries. Xi Jinping makes ample use of moral philosophy as the basis for his argument and this address, and it also provides strong reasoning for this step forward. In China's efforts to assist developing countries, good relations are naturally formed as a result, and this substantially promotes peace on a large scale. Anyhow, without the evidence to support these words, it could be argued that it's empty. Yet, in this graph created by the Ministry of Finance in China, we can see the global foreign aid expenditure from 2003 to 2020. It's important to note that from 2003 to 2019, we can see an almost 6 times increase to the amount of money donated by China to other countries. This increase is continued in 2012 when Xi Jinping enters office, and we can see the trend continues as well. It's clear that moral philosophy has a clear role in influencing the allocation of foreign aid, as well as and signifies its far-reaching impacts to the economy. Self-sufficiency economy philosophy, or SEP, which is based off moral philosophy, is a clear indicator of that. According to Otto Federico von Feinblatt, an academician at the Royal Academy of Economics and Financial Sciences of Spain, along with his co-writer, states that self-sufficiency economy philosophy, or SEP, is infused with Theravada Buddhist concepts such as moderation and the middle way, with the middle way referring to benevolence, which is defined by Feinblatt as one's actions to have a positive impact on the community, while moderation refers to the self-restraint and avoidance of extremes. In this table, created by a doctor in business administration at the University of Sun Rajabhat, we can see the performance of businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, when implementing the SEP model. We can see that amongst the 4 types of capital identified in the study, human capital referring to the amount of labor they have access to, social capital referring to their intra-connections within the company, we can see that there's an increase from either moderate to high performance when implementing SEP as the foundations of their business model. After observing the overall influence of moral philosophy and its impact on society, it's quite clear that morals play an indispensable role to human development. With morals possessing a profound impact on Asian society, and how it's been shaped, it's without a doubt that contrary to Aurelius, society does possess reason, or in this case, morals. Asian cultures as a whole have been positively impacted by moral philosophy. These are my works cited. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
All right, first question. What information did you need that you weren't able to locate?
Well, I wanted information that specifically talked about people's individual thought processes. I was able to find more vague and general trends over the course of large groups of people. But at the beginning of the introduction, I mentioned Marcus Aurelius and how the meditation gives insight to his thought processes. However, we can only draw conclusions from his words. We don't necessarily know his exact thought processes. And I felt like that was important to the overall understanding of how philosophy impacts society. I was only able to find very general and broad. I wasn't able to find specific details about how individual people think about the concept.
All right, if you had more time, what additional research would you do?
If I had more time, as I mentioned earlier, I would look more into how it affects the thought process of individual people, because this was something I wasn't able to find. And I also would like to look at how overall Asian cultures had been influenced by philosophy in such a large manner. Because overall, I found that it impacted society in a large manner, but I felt that I didn't find enough specifics and little nuances that could have further strengthened my argument.